Okay, dear colleagues, nice to see you, all of us, again. And you have our latest version of regulations. And for comments, I ask our Secretary Commission to make some comments for our work.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, I'm very glad to see you all. Now, you have been sent to all the draft regulations on the election of members of the National Agency for Higher Education Quality Association. Today, no proposition. Maybe now, do you have questions, propositions, the latest version, regulations?
Yes.
Yes, Tia?
Yes.
Go ahead. Okay.
The sound is not very good, I must say.
Okay. I suggest put one vote the latest version regulation and delegation Ukrainian partners the opportunities, if necessary, the mail edits to complete these requirements before official submission of regulation to the Cabinet of Ministers. Is there any way against?
Anything, I must say. The sound is quite bad.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Heli, do you have any comments or proposals, please? Because something is wrong with communication. We do not hear you.
Yeah, I do. I do have first a question, maybe for clarification, because it was quite difficult to understand how this agency is going to work, because now we are electing agency members. There are 23 of them as agency members. What will be the role of this agency? What is actually the agency? Are those members we are electing today like board members of the agency? As we understood, 2 of them will be managing the agency mainly, like the chair of the agency and deputy chair, who will have contracts with the agency. It is a bit confusing for us how this organization, which could be called as an independent agency for quality assurance of higher education in Ukraine, will be operating. What will be the role of those people we are electing?
The role of the national agency is clearly written in our law on higher education. So, in general, we will have the agency consisting of 23 people you mentioned about. Also, the agency will establish and hire appropriate people as secretariat. It will be, for example, in our previous attempt to create the agency, there were more than 50 people in the secretariat, and these people did some work concerning, for example, development of accreditation procedure, development of the procedure of accreditation research councils, and etc., etc., etc. And also in further in next steps, where also the agency has to establish an expert councils. to do the accreditation procedure according to each field of study. We have about 29 field of study, so we will have at least 29 expert councils, but it will be the future. It will be the role of those 23 people, the agency which we are going to elect. But at present, we are talking only about the regulation of election of these 23 people, not more.
Just one more clarification, maybe. Who will make the accreditation decisions in this bigger agency? We understand that now we are just, it's a bit confusing because if we are talking about the agency, national agency, it seems to be only those 23. Yeah, but actually the agency has bigger body, has like secretariat, has those committees in different fields. So it is a bit confusing. The agency, are we talking only about those 23 members?
At present, we are talking only about these 23 members. For example, as for the accreditation procedure, it will be done in the next way. The specialized council, which will be created later, will organize the special commission, which will go to the separate university and examine the situation with the students' training, with the curricula, etc., 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 and will write their conclusion, and this conclusion will be submitted to the expert councils, and after the approval of expert council, they will be submitted to the national agency. And national agency will do the final approval, the final voting. So it will be a multi-step procedure, starting from the small commission, 3 or 4 people, then to the expert council, and then to the national agency. National agency, these 23 people, are to develop some policy in accreditation procedure of educational programs, in accreditation in specialized council. For example, will establish committee of ethics dealing with different kinds of plagiarism or something like, etc., etc. So these 23 people will establish their internal structure, who will be responsible for different issues. It could be, for example, 3, 4, even 5 some committees, in subcommittees inside the national agency. So this is the general idea which is described in our law on higher education.
It wasn't that clear when I read the law and the regulation, like how the structure of the bigger agency will be. Yeah. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Does anybody have any more question?
I just wanted to follow up on this very question about the chair and deputy chair, of, which are supposed to be selected within those 23 people. Will this be done by these 23 people or by the process that we are involved currently?
Yes, according to the law, they will do the election of chair and deputy chair by themselves inside these 23 people. The cabinet ministers only approve the result of election made inside the national agency. Patricia, we kindly ask you to reload, to reconnect, yes. Because we do not hear you, we do not see you. Patricia, please reconnect.
Well, this is Tia. I can see her, Patricia, but I can't hear her indeed. Okay, so.
Yes, we also see Patricia, but not hear she.
Just maybe from my side then, yes, this is just a question of clarification as to what kind of questions we pose at this stage. Is this now a general questions about the process, or are we already talking about the draft document?
The purpose of today's meeting is only to discuss the draft of the regulations, because these regulations are to be submitted to are to be approved by the Cabinet of Ministers on the basis of our proposal. So the goal of this meeting is to do, if necessary, some connection in yesterday's version. If we have some corrections, if we have some improvements, we will take them into account and will agree with you once more during this week. And we are going next week to start the submission to the Cabinet of Ministers, because it will take some time to have the final confirmation of the Cabinet of Ministers. It takes about 3-4 weeks.
Okay, then maybe a few comments. Well, first of all, thank you for the new draft that we received yesterday, because I think the few highlights in it actually address partly the issues that came to my mind when I was reading the document. If we go to the section of additional skills that give selection advantage, one from this, my comment comes from the European perspective, in a sense that what I was missing in these additional skills. Well, first thing was that experience in quality assessment, and that has been added now. It's the first one in the. But if the idea is that this agency should also work within the context of the European higher education area, and try to the extent possible comply with the European standards, I was hoping to see among the additional skills some kind of an experience, international experience in quality assurance, or knowledge of the European quality assurance landscape, or something similar. Because you would probably want some people who are familiar with let's say, the European standards and guidelines for quality assurance when the procedures of the agency are being developed. Whereas now it's very separated. You have we would be expecting experience as an expert in the field of quality of higher education assessment, but then the international organization experience doesn't have to be about quality assurance. So I would say one of the additional skills that we would want some people in this agency to have would be being familiar and knowledgeable in the European standards for quality and European discussions for quality assurance.
Okay, thank you. I understand. So your proposal is to put one more additional demands or additional skills concerning the experience and familiarity with procedures described in European standard and guidelines, etc., etc. Okay.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Or adapting the existing ones. Both are.
If you have any idea if you have an idea how to formulate this, please send us. If no, we could formulate this today or tomorrow, and we'll send you by email for approval. But let me agree to put an additional skill dealing with international accreditation, etc., quality assurance on the base of ESG. Okay?
Yes, I can try to send you something once we finish the meeting.
It would be the best way if you will formulate your idea, because it will be required from us to rewrite what you told now. So, and maybe first of all, bad communication, bad hearing, so that we can not always include into the text. So that's why please formulate your proposal and send to us.
Yes. I can send it, I can do it after we finish the meeting, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, maybe Patricia, do you hear us? Patricia, we do not hear you. You have to turn off the garniture or change the connection on your notebook, on your laptop, because we do not hear you.
Switch on.
If you hear me, please raise your hand. You hear us? Yes. Okay, but we do not hear you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for connection with us. But please do something with your microphone, because we do not hear you. And our European colleagues also do not hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
No sound.
Please try to switch on microphone or to check the microphone if it's. If you hear us, Patricia, please switch off your garniture and then again switch on.
So, Patricia, our recommendation from our specialist is you to turn off totally your garniture and only use the microphone which is inside your laptop. Do not use the garniture, because we do not hear. Okay, colleagues, Patricia is trying to establish contact, voice contact, but at present we got from Tia very clear recommendation for additional skill. I see Halle is going to say. Yes, please, Halle.
Yes, thank you. I support very much what Tia said, but I'm just wondering what happened with those recommendations we provided to the first draft of the regulation, because I proposed already this kind of amendment in my comments to the first draft. And the more general question would be, will we get a feedback to our comments we have given? Because there were some questions about the next steps we will have as a committee, election committee, in what kind of role our we as international experts will have in the phase of interviews. But anyway, coming back to this proposal made by Tia, I very much support it, and I proposed actually to add to knowledge of educational legislation of Ukraine, the developments and standards of European higher education area. So it would have been nice to have got a feedback to the previous comments as well. But anyway, I support very much Tia's proposal.
But we already put the demand about the knowledge of education legislation. Ukraine, it is among the obligatory skills.
No, to add also the knowledge of European standards for higher education area. My proposal was to add. Yeah.
Yes, recommendation. We will do that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Gohar.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I would also like to support both Telly's and what Telly and Tia has said just now, and also I would like to ask you to send a feedback to the comments that I have sent to you. Because I had several questions which were connected with the first draft of the document, which are still not very clear to me. I have marked them in the document and sent them to you. And another question which I would like to ask about this final version that we received yesterday. There is a part about the list of documents necessary for participation in selection procedure. And at the end, I see that the requirement of submission of the action plan in English, as well as submission of additional documents, is marked with yellow, and then it's mentioned to be excluded. Do I understand right that these points are excluded from the necessary documents? And if so, what is the reason for that? Thank you.
We have excluded these formal bureaucratic demands from the regulation because they will be included. This information will be included into the initial declaration. Application. Each person will do at the very beginning the application about his or her willingness to be a member, and inside this application it will be necessary to fill in information which was excluded from the regulation. So we decided to move from the regulation to the application form. We will send you during 2 days the new version of application where this information will appear. You will see that information.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the response. I will be looking forward for the new document to receive.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Heli, please.
Yeah, just one more clarification, because I asked it also in my comments, but I think it is important to understand how we will proceed with this election principle that from each study field, there can be only one person included in the agency. Does it mean that if the student is, let's say, from the field of humanities, then there can't be any other expert connected with this field?
It is our opinion, we would like to discuss with you, but it is our opinion that we will not consider students as a specialist in some educational fields. Because the students, will have another role in the agency to observe other student issues. So we will do not affiliate student with the field of study. If you agree, I think it's logically.
Yeah, I would agree. I would support it very much, yes.
Okay, thank you. We also support that proposal.
I am very sorry, but I have to make some comment about the Patricia's question. Basically, we have to get sort of information from lawyers, because by law, as it is written in the law, if we have a student saying from humanity, nobody else may be presented in the national agency from the humanity. That is how it is written by law. But I think that we have to get a sort of additional information about this issue. So that's how it is written in law. We have no choice, and we have to consider it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually also, that it seems so that the student is also an expert in a certain field, which is not very logical, but anyway, it seems so that it's according to the law, like it is.
Да, я ж сказав, що
we have to consult with our lawyers on this issue, but the same issue you raised is also concerning concern as of the employers' representatives, because they are not should be not specialists in some areas, so they have experience in the business development, in the vocational training, in the promotion of high school education, etc. That's why they will be not linked also to some area of education area.
Yeah.
Because, at this stage, it's not so important for us, so we have some time to make some consultations, to make some, to write some questions to lawyers, to explain how we how we should interpret the existing law. But on this stage, on confirming regulations, it's not so important for us. But we have also common, both your side and our side agreed that both students and employers should not represent the field of education. The field education should be presented by the specialists from universities, from ministry, from academies, and etc., etc. So I think it's common understanding between us. Is it?
Yeah, good, nice. Sorry. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Patricia, do you? Hello? We still not hear you. Sorry, but we still not hear you. We cannot understand why. Previous time was okay. Okay, so we should ask you if you have any proposal you have had about our discussion. If you have any proposals, please write them by email, and we will summarize all proposals and will share to everybody, for example, not later than tomorrow. Okay?
Just a comment from my side, Tia. Patricia, it looks like on my screen that your microphone is really muted. Have you enabled it in this Google Hangout? In the upper side of your screen, there is a button. Okay.
Patricia, excuse me, just plug your earphones off. and may it works.
Now? I'm really sorry. I don't understand. It does not respond. It is frozen.
It works. It works.
Now we hear you. It's okay. We
Now?
hear you. Yes. Yes. Nice to meet you again.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I don't understand. I think this is controlled by your mediator and not by myself, because I tried many times and probably there was something technical. Anyway,
But
can
now
I?
it's okay, so we can hear you if you have some comments, some recommendation how to improve the proposed regulation of regulation.
Yes, maybe I'm going to repeat some words of my colleagues, and especially on the part of Heli, because my major concern is that in the regulation it is written that the agency consists of 23 people, but it appears that these 23 people are only the board of the agency, or the accreditation council, the body of the agency which is going to make the decisions in the future for accreditation or for non-accreditation. And this concerns me a lot because it appears that, following the legal texts, that the administration of the agency is not part of these 23, but it should be. And the financial department of the agency, the legal experts of the agency, or at least one expert, all these people are not, they are left out of these 23. And this is a big contradiction, in my view, with the law, because the law states, unless this is a matter of translation from Ukrainian into English, but the legal text of Article 19 states that the agency consists of 23 people, and that's it. This must include administration and all other services. So my proposal is to avoid any problems in the future with the legal texts and, on the other hand, with the normal functioning of your future agency, to structure these 23 people into 9 or 11 people of those 23 to be accreditation council or board of the agency. And these people, I agree that they should they should conform to the selection procedure and to the selection criteria that you already put in the final, in this recent document. The remaining numbers, if you decide, if you opt for 11 persons of the board and 12 persons all the rest, then the rest 12 should be 3 or 4 people as a minimum as administration of the agency, and the remaining should be the chairs of those panels that are going to prepare the visits, the site visits to the institutions, who are going to prepare the reports, the evaluation and assessment reports. So this is, in my view, the only way to provide the legal basis for the normal functioning of the agency. Because if you have your panel expert committees formed from the outside of the agencies, then their reports would not have legal basis, and the decisions of the Accreditation Council can be so to say, a subject of legal case in the court. Imagine, for example, a situation when the site visit shows and the report shows that a certain program in certain higher education institution is not satisfactory and should not be accredited. Then I, as a head, for example, of that higher education institution, as a rector, let's say, I will go to the court and object this decision, and the court, the legal body, shall neglect the Accreditation Council decision only on legal grounds. And by saying, for example, that the decision of the expert panel committee is illegal because this expert panel committee is not the agency, because it is outside of the agency. Do you understand my point? My point is that all decisions, all assessments, and all accreditation reports or any evaluation reports that are forming the basis of accreditation decision should be legal. They should be in the legal framework. They should be made by people who are appointed by the agency and who represent the agency and who are part of those 23. Because the law states the agency consists of 23 people. That's it, no more. So anyone who is going to touch the accreditation documents at whatever level or stage of the accreditation procedure should be a member of the agency, should be appointed and legally responsible to that agency. In other words, all bodies, at least chairs of the expert panels, at least the chairs, should be members of those 23. That's why my suggestion, and I see no other legal solution to that problem. These 23 are not all the board, members of the board. Part of them will be members of the board, and okay, they will be selected on the first place and appointed by the Council of Ministers, but they will be something between 9 or 11 people. And these people will appoint the chairs of the expert panels, as it is stated in the law. But these chairs of the expert panels should be members of the agency. They should not be members of other bodies. They may be nominated by higher education institutions, by the academies of sciences, by research institutes, and as it is stipulated in the law, but they should be contracted by the agency. And then these chairs will sign all the reports, evaluation reports, in order to make them legal. And then present those reports to the board of the agency, to those 9 or 11 people. And then the approval of those reports would lead to the accreditation decision, yes or no. And this is the legality, the legal basis of all agency decisions. Otherwise, the agency work will be subject to legal procedures and may lead to unfavorable results and even will compromise the reform and the agency future decisions in in the eyes of the society and the academic community and students and employers. So my advice is to think about how to structure the members, the 23 members of the agency. I think that they cannot be all the 23 of them selected by our committee only on the basis of their academic, so to say, academic membership. Obviously, some administration will be needed to technically and logistically organize the process of evaluation and accreditation. So you have to think about this process in the first place and then to decide what to do. I don't think that it will be an operable and effectively working agency if all the 23 people will be only the boards deciding about who is going to evaluate them, who is going to be responsible for the objectivity and integrity of evaluation reports. Somebody from the agency should be responsible. Somebody appointed and contracted by the agency should be responsible, and not just invited for a couple of months or just invited to participate in a site visit. The responsibility is huge here, I think. So yes, expert teams can be appointed on a temporary basis, on timely contracts, on a short-term contracts, so to say. But somebody who is going to sign the evaluation report and present it to the board for decision should be responsible representative of the agency. This is my opinion, because I had many problems in the courts at the beginning of the work of our agency, some 10 years or more ago. And I know by experience that the universities will be, they shall and they can use any opportunity to object the accreditation decision if they are not happy with that decision to the court. And we can avoid this now by deciding about this structure.
Okay, thank you very much about your very valuable comments and suggestions. I think you are right that the national agency is not only those 23 people, but according to the law, our task is to elect only those 23 people. They will develop the policy, they will adopt a very important decision, etc., etc. And one of the first task which they face will be to develop a statute of the national agency. And I hope in this statute all your recommendations, and we have the time to talk about by email or during our next meetings, how to do the internal structure of the national agency as 23 people, as national agency consisting also of secretariat and expert council, etc., etc. It will be the issue, the content, the task of the development of statute. But your recommendations are very valuable. But at this stage, we should go on according to the existing law. Existing law says that we have to elect 23 people, and these 23 people are to be called as national agency. This is our task.
Okay. But can I just add just one more statement? If I am a minister of finance for example, responsible for the budget for higher education, responsible to sign and present the budget to the government for approval and then to the National Assembly. I will object any requirements for additional budget for the agency, considering, let's say, if the board of 23 would decide that there is a need also for additional number of staff for the agency, for the administration, for the panel experts covering different fields of study, then the number of agency staff will become, let's say, 60 people. But if I'm a Minister of Finance, I will rely on the legal texts stating that the agency consists of only 23, and my responsibility as a financial minister will be to provide the budget for 23 full-time employees of the agency, and I will object such calls for widening the number of staff of the agency. You should be aware of that difficulty that you are going to face in the future as a minister or a deputy minister for education. You will have to justify this, and it will be very difficult because the law says that the state shall provide budget for 23 people, and that's it, no more. So this is going to be a real difficulty, how to find financial resources for more than 23 people, which I suspect will be the case after 1 year maybe or more. So this is just a warning.
Thank you very much for your comments, but it's a sort of misunderstanding. According to the law, we are electing 23 members of the national agency, and the law says nothing about financial institutions and about how the agency is going to be financed. So it's another issue, and this issue doesn't concern us, because our main goal is to elect the right people for the agency. And I guess that from Patricia's talk, we have to make one simple conclusion. We have to elect the people who are able to work at the agency according particularly to the thoughts what Patricia told us. And having this idea in our mind, I guess that it's another sort of not misunderstanding, but of what is not written here. Basically, the structure of agency is a question of the members who will be elected. According to the previous experience, it was like the following. Basically, the head of the agency, 4 or 5 vice heads, and those 5 or 6 people, those people will be working at the agency permanently. So that is gonna be their main job. So those are 6 people among 23. And commenting on what Patricia told us, one of those people will be responsible for financing and for stuff like that, so don't worry about that, how it works here in Ukraine. So among the rest 23 minus 6, that's, I'm talking about this because it's what Patricia told us, that how we are going to elect those people, what are our intrinsic feelings would be about people who will be right or who will be not so proper man or woman to be elected. And we have 23 minus 6, 17, minus 3 representatives from industry, 3, minus 2 students, we have 17 minus 5, 12. So basically 12 people, that's what Patricia told, like a board. But the responsibility of those people will be to organize the work of the national agency. And by law, there are several committees, also 3, 4, or 5 people. And I am pretty sure they also will be working permanently at the national agency. So that's how I think all of us may feel about the people who will be elected. So it doesn't mean that all 23 people who will be elected will be responsible for everything, but at least half of them definitely. But by law, Patricia, absolutely right that all 23 are responsible. So I think that Patricia comment should not concern the regulation what we are discussing today, and I guess that the document we have prepared is written properly and it's absolutely correct. So just maybe 1 or 2 sentences is worth to be added, but the intrinsic understanding of people who should be elected, I guess my thoughts also should be taken into account properly, because I'm just transferring or reflecting what Patricia told to the reality what we have here. Thank you very much.
And plus to add and not to forget that in the administrative issues and supportive issues, it will be established the secretariat of the agency. So it, as it was in the past, around 50 persons, which will serve the committees of the agency and the agency as a whole.
Thank you for these clarifications. That is very important.
Okay, but let me summarize today's discussion. We are coming back to the text of the proposed regulation. Is it okay to adapt it with the addition which is to be formulated by TIA concerning the experience in European standards and guidelines and etc., in participating in international accreditation, etc., etc. So, do we have any other additions or suggestions how to improve what is written in the proposed draft of regulation?
My thinking is now following the direction of these clarifications that you provided to us, which are very important. Because, for example, is there going to be a position of chief executive or secretary general to the agency? And if so, is this person going to follow the same requirements?
It's, well, that's crucial point. I agree with you. And I guess that those 23 people will decide how it will work, because there are 2 options. The one option is that the secretary belongs to those 23, and another option that the secretary is outside of those 23. But that's, again, that's up to board of 23. It's not our question. That what the people who will be elected, they will decide. So it's not our point. That should be their point. But again, the position of the secretary is, I mean, the position of the secretary exists, and somebody should be hired for this position. That's for sure.
But that means that we have to put into the criteria for selection all these possibilities, right?
Okay, I think that we may discuss it later because it's very hard question, and I don't think that right now we are able to find a proper solution. Again, maybe we should, maybe not. Let's discuss it later, but I don't think it should affect the document we are discussing, I mean the regulations, because in regulations is written everything. So everybody who is expecting to be a secretary should satisfy those regulations.
Heli.
Yes, thank you. I just actually wanted to say something similar. You just said that that I think the requirements set in the regulations in this regulation are covering very broad, let's say, palette of different kinds of skills and knowledges. So the question is actually how the selection will proceed. So how we really will be able to understand whom to select in order to guarantee that all necessary skills are covered in this national agency. This is a crucial question, I would say.
Yes, of course. We were talking about that previously inside our group. So in the nearest future, we will propose you for discussion some our ideas how to do this selection. We have some ideas how to do information technology, data collection, etc., because at this stage we cannot predict how many persons will compete for one place representing one field of study. It will depend on the existing candidates and etc. But it will be other further steps. We will have about 2 months ahead to discuss this issue, because as I said to you, it will take about 1 month to approve our regulations, when we will announce the competition, and additional 1 month to collect the applications. So at least 2.5 months we have still ahead to discuss our very important issues, including the questions has arisen by Patricia, including the question how to do the selection and etc. So we will have enough time. At this stage we have to do as quick as possible the submitting the regulation to the Cabinet of Ministers, because that will open the real way to start the whole procedure.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would like to come back to for the very beginning. Do you agree with us to adopt, to approve the proposed regulations with the addition formulated by Tia? Is it okay?
Yes.
I have reservations to this. I think that we need, in the light of the news and clarifications that we received today, I would like to have at least a couple of days by the end of this week, to propose some amendments to the section of this regulation dealing with the criteria for selection. And then we can agree on the final document. Because I think that this section concerning the criteria for selection of the accreditation agency members is not, at the moment, is not sufficient enough to pass it to the Council of Ministers. It's not ready yet, in my view.
Okay.
But we can work very quick. Very quick. I understand the urgency of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe another proposal. It is in our tradition to adopt the proposed draft as a basis, and during this week, up to the beginning of next week, to discuss some additions, some amendments, etc., etc. And then, in that case, we do not need to have additional Skype meeting. We could agree by email communication. Is it okay?
Yes. Yeah, that's perfectly okay with me.
So now we could vote for the adoption of the proposed draft as a basis and agree during the next week to clarify everything and to confirm once more by email. Okay?
Okay, agreed. Yes.
So I think we have the common understanding. So thank you very much for the participation. We can vote, for example. But yes, thank you for your vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and final comments from the head. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your participation and for your good propositions. We will try to adopt and do our regulation better. And should we deal formal vote for basic document? Yes. Let do formal vote.
Who is in favor?
Who is in favor? Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
And taking this brilliant opportunity, I would like, on behalf of our part of our committee, to congratulate you with the coming Easter holidays. So have a nice holidays. All the best to you and to your family. Our holidays will be 1 week later, and we will be during this week and the beginning of next week in contact by email. So have a nice holidays. Happy Easter.
Happy
Thank you.
Easter.
All the best, sir.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.